Hello and welcome everybody back to the Inside Our Galaxy podcast. I am your host, Eric Hernandez. As always, we got to talk about our 2-1 win against the San Jose Earthquakes. Bring out the brooms. 4 out of 4. We sweep the San Jose Earthquakes in all competitions this year. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that game, our thoughts, our opinions about that game. We obviously clinch into the next round of the Leagues Cup with that win, so we'll talk about that and going forward. But we do have one more group stage game, which is against Chivas De Guadalajara, so we'll be previewing that game as well. We'll talk about a little bit of Galaxy news. Obviously, we moved the player, so we're going to talk about that, our reactions about that news, and simple episode, a preview, a reaction, and let's get to it, guys. And of course, with me as always is my co-host, LA Galaxy Central. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Enjoying the last month of summer for sure. So definitely pretty happy right now.
Yeah, obviously we're into August already. While we're recording, it is August 1st. So, it's kind of crazy. It felt like, like a month ago it was January and now we're in August. So the year's going by pretty quick. And obviously we're in a very interesting part of the season as well, because we do have 8 games left in the regular season, but we're in a halt right now because of the Leagues Cup. So we're in an interesting spot right now. But obviously enjoying the week. How have you enjoyed the little break, the All-Star break, I guess? It feels like it's kind of been a while since we recorded, but it's been a week and a half. But I don't know if you felt, I don't know if you did anything within that little break or anything with the All-Star break or anything like that.
Not really too much. I will say the week felt a little bit boring because there's not really any games. Obviously the NBA, NHL are done. Europe's not really playing any games. Now they just start up friendlies again, so that's something. But I don't know, the week kind of felt a little bit boring before Leagues Cup, so it was definitely good to have some action back.
Yeah, it definitely felt good. It honestly felt like a while since we played a game, which honestly it has been. It's been almost 10 days. Oh, yeah, 10 days. So it really has been, it's felt like a long time. So, but yeah, we're glad we had some action yesterday. And of course, we got a win with that game yesterday, which we'll talk about it right now. Of course, like I said, it was a 2-1 win against the San Jose Earthquakes up there in PayPal Park for our first game in the Leagues Cup. Obviously, San Jose went into that game coming off a penalty kicks win against Chivas, where they ended up playing again in front of a 50,000 crowd in Levi Stadium. So obviously, they were going in with, I guess, some bit of hope, some hype going into that game, going against the LA Galaxy. But obviously, we go in there, we draw first blood with the first goal with Fagundes. They end up tying it back, and a Miguel Berry clutch winning goal to seal the game and to move on into the next round of the Leagues Cup. So obviously there was a lot into this game. How'd you feel about this game? What were your thoughts? What were your reactions? And break it down for me.
Yeah, obviously I'm very happy with the win for sure. To be able to go on into the next round is really good. To not have the Chivas game be a win or go home scenario also is really good. I feel like in the past we haven't really done the best where we have a win or go home scenario, like on decision day, for example, so it's good we get to avoid that. Yeah, obviously it was a back and forth game. I don't think we really played that well, but at the same time, we created a few chances, had a few moments of brilliance, and that was enough to get a win, so that was really good. I was pretty happy with the performance. I think we did some things well. I think we did make some mistakes as well, but ultimately you got the win, you're moving on, so that's a really good thing for sure.
Yeah, obviously when you look at the game, I agree. I don't think they played the best game, but I also kind of looked at it as, well, we mentioned, they hadn't played in 10 days. So obviously I think there was maybe not rusty, but maybe I guess they were out of rhythm considering the fact they came off 2 wins against the Colorado Rapids and the Portland Timbers. So having that break kind of maybe messed them up in a sense a little bit, so maybe they weren't too connected. So obviously there were some struggles in this game. San Jose, I think, again, feeding off the high of their PK win against Chivas, kind of went into that game at least with the right mentality, trying to prevent this Galaxy team from winning, right? And I think they did for the most part in the first half. And then once Fagundes finds the individual, I guess, little things that he did to get that goal was brilliant from him. We end up striking first. And obviously we were playing okay. I think we had some chances, didn't really, maybe we weren't as clinical, but we were creating chances. We were creating opportunities in this game. But, and then also I guess San Jose just Bobese ties the game, in around the 75th minute. So, it was kind of late in the game. Obviously there was still time to at least make a comeback. But there were some points where I thought hey, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with this team going into penalties, against San Jose, considering the fact that they won, but also just the fact that I don't think we've had some struggles with penalties, so I think that would have been pretty bad if we would have gone to penalties. Luckily, with the brilliance of Ricky Puig, the assist from Mickey Yamane, and then just the clutch finish from Miguel Berry to really seal the win, you got to be happy about it. So obviously, you're happy about the fact that you get a win against your Northern California rivals again for the first time. So obviously, like, yeah, I mean, there was some struggles within the game, but I think for the most part, you're not too mad about the game. I think you were kind of pleased with what we got and the fact that we got a little bit of the resilience, within the game. Kind of just shows how this team has been all this year. I will say though, but I mean, like I said earlier, like I would have been a little bit worried if we would have gone to penalties. Did you think that at one point we were going to go into that, and would you have been confident if we did go into those penalties?
I mean, honestly, I don't really know because I've never seen this Galaxy team in a penalty shootout. Like, we really haven't played any of them over recent years. So, I mean, I couldn't tell you, right? I haven't really seen any sort of example. Like, yes, we're bad at penalty kicks, but I mean, a shootout can be totally different. So, who really knows? Mikovic had a good game, so he could have been going in confident. So, I mean, I really don't know. But the good part is like, even if you went into penalties and you won in penalties, the Chivas game would still be a winner go home scenario. So the fact that we got that last goal at the 90th minute prevented us from making the Chivas game, an elimination game for us. Like, that was the big part about it. It wasn't about if we were going to go to penalties or not, because the scenario for the Chivas game wouldn't have changed regardless of the outcome of it.
Okay, you're right about that, but yeah, I mean, obviously, like, still though, like, I don't know, like, because obviously, if we would have gotten 2 points, you would have been like, okay, like, we got 2 points, but it's still though, like, I don't know if I, like, at one point I was just like, all right, like, how is this game gonna go? Like, I don't know if I would have been, I don't think anybody would have really been happy with the tie going into penalties, regardless of the outcome. But yeah, I mean, again, that second goal was huge for Miguel Berry, and I think, yeah, like, going into this game, you needed to win this game, just get San Jose out of the way, and then you don't have to worry about the, like you said, the do or die situation against Chivas at home. But yeah, I mean, obviously though, still, like, I think just, the fact that we didn't really play our best game and still won again just shows you how good we've been, I guess, in a sense, or how good of a team we've been. Because, like I always say, it's just like, if you manage to, if you don't have the best performances but still manage to win games, it's like that goes a long way, for the team and for whatever sport or for whatever team you're on. But yeah, I mean, obviously, still though, it's just kind of a little bit worrying, I guess, a little bit, the fact that we were tied at one point, and again, San Jose went into this game wanting to, beat us. Obviously, they hadn't beaten us at all this season, and with the high that they had with Chivas, like, I mean, I guess they would have, like, would have liked to have won that game. Luckily, that wasn't the case. And obviously, like, for us, at least on Sunday, there's really nothing much we can. There, we don't have to worry about anything with results. It's just now San Jose or Chivas who's going to be the team that's going to go through. So at least for the most part, again, like, you're just happy with the result. Maybe the performance was a little bit iffy, but still the result is what matters. And at the end of the day, we move on.
I mean, I'll say this though. You could say the Galaxy, they're a good team and they have a lot of options on the roster, which is true, but I'd also say in the same breath, like, it also shows how bad San Jose is. The fact that, like, all our DPs, I think, played pretty bad in my opinion, and we'll get those to the players, and we didn't play without a number 9, and we basically just gifted them a goal, and, like, they still lost to us. That's like, I mean, man, if you can't beat us in that scenario where our DPs all play really bad, we don't have a striker, we gift you a goal, it's like, well, when are you ever going to beat us, really? Like, we did not play very well, and yet San Jose still was not even able to get that game to penalties on their own home field, which just speaks a lot to how, I guess, they've done so far in the same breath, too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, they've been terrible. Like, I mean, we've said it multiple times. They've just been terrible. And, yeah, I mean, honestly, and I think you even mentioned it, I think, on your, like, story yesterday, after the game. It's like the fact that last year, when we were pretty bad, we were terrible. We still managed to beat, some good teams here and there, when we had a little bit of a run, and San Jose just can't win shit. Like, they just really can't win no matter who the team is. And I think they only have 4 wins this entire season, right? I mean, that's terrible, man. But still though, I mean, they had nothing really to lose in this tournament. So, I mean, regardless of what happens here, they're still not going to be as good as they think, or they're just not going to be as good, I guess. But still though, yeah, I mean, obviously though, like yeah, like it's pretty sad to say the least that we didn't like, especially our top players, like you said, our DPS didn't really have that great of a game, and they still managed to lose, like, and a gifted goal. So it's like they still managed to lose. It's pretty sad for them, for the most part. But yeah, I mean, obviously though, still a good result. I mean, did you feel like there was anything? I guess like obviously the positive part was the result, but was there anything I guess negative from this game that you can kind of take in, or something that you think we didn't do well in this game against San Jose?
I mean, I'll just say though, funny enough, San Jose might actually be going through over Chivas. Imagine if that happens. Like, what would you think about that?
I mean, we'll get into the preview where, because obviously for those who don't know, I'm a Chivas fan. So, and if that happens, I mean, boy,
Man,
does that give me another thought about Chivas? Like, I mean, boy, but still though, we'll talk about that, I guess, in the preview. But still though, I mean, the fact that, I mean, we were talking about the San Jose Chivas game, and you were texting me, and I was just like, dude, how the
I was
hell?
laughing at you.
I was like, how the hell is this? How is the hell is Chivas losing against the San Jose Earthquakes? I mean, luckily they tied and still got a point, but still though, it's like,
They're so bad, dude.
yeah, they were so bad. And again, we'll talk about Chivas in the preview. But boy, I mean, that's still though, like, that'd be pretty. I don't know. It'd be sad, but also kind of funny at the same time that they go over Chivas. It's like, I don't know, but still though, it's still the pretty bad to say the least. But still though, like, anything you felt like we could have worked on in this game, or anything that you felt like the Galaxy just maybe didn't do right in this game against San Jose?
Well, I feel like in the first half, our midfield was not very good. They could have done a lot better, and obviously, like, the mistake for the goal was not very good either. But other than that, like, I feel like most people did their job pretty well. Maybe Paintsel could have put in the third goal, or maybe doubled the lead. But other than that, like, it was pretty solid overall. I think most people did their job to the point where they needed to do it at.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think yeah. It wasn't necessarily everybody had the best performances, but they did enough to get the win. So I would agree with that. I will say about the offense, though, I think there were some moments where they really could have been more clinical. They could have probably put more goals against the San Jose team. I think they were either just, again, not on the right page, or maybe they just did one or two more steps that they should have, and it's just like, I don't know. The offense could have definitely been better, but I mean, still though, we got two goals regardless of the situation. But yeah, I mean, I think and we'll talk about the players in a bit, which obviously some of those players didn't play as very well as we thought we would, but still though, we'll talk about the players in a bit. But I think overall, in a sense, like, they did enough, I guess, at the end of the day, to seal the win against that team, and to get 4 out of 4 against San Jose, which is pretty bad. Which, by the way, San Jose hasn't beaten us since 2022. That's pretty bad for them as well. But anyways, any other points you want to talk about this game, or anything that stood out to you in this game?
I would just say for Cali Classico for the season, like, when you saw 4 games on our schedule against San Jose, 3 out of 4 of them being in San Jose, like, I don't think anyone was expecting a sweep. Like, I know San Jose is not a great team, but a sweep is kind of crazy, though, especially when you have 3 out of 4 at home. Like, MLS is a league where teams are, relatively evenly matched, and anyone can beat anyone any given night. The fact that they got swept is like, man, that's really bad. You can't even deny that. That is really bad for them for sure.
Yeah, I know. Like, obviously, sweeping any team, especially 4 games, is pretty impressive in one season. Obviously, like, going into the season, like San Jose, obviously last year they were in the postseason, so at least they were somewhat competitive going into the season. But the fact that we just swept them for 4 games this season, and the fact that with the season that they've had this year, it's kind of like a little shocking. So it's just like, you at least thought there was going to be a little bit more a competitive factor within these games, and there just hasn't been one. And the fact that they've had 3 home games this season over there in Northern California, just again, it's pretty sad for them. But at the same time, hey, you know what? We got those 4 wins. We got those wins up there, regardless of the situation. So hey, you know what? We're gonna take it any way we can. And yeah, I mean, you can't be too mad about getting those 4 wins this season. So yeah, obviously that was it for the game. So let's talk about the players and the obviously the individual performances. So let's start with the defense. You did have some changes. You had Mikovic at goal instead of John McCarthy. You had Mickey Yamane as your right back. Your two center backs was Yoshida and you had Jalen Neal. And then you also had John Nelson at left back. So obviously defense, we did get conceded one goal. Obviously, it was a giveaway and not necessarily the defense's fault. It was just, getting caught off guard because we did the giveaway, I guess. But obviously, defense, how'd you feel about this? We did get the one change out of the defense, but how do you feel about the defense overall in that performance?
Yeah, honestly, I felt great about the defense. I think they played very good across the board. Mikovic made the saves he needed to make. I think Nelson played very solid coming in again. Both the center backs played really well and dealt with crosses well, and Yamane had the game-winning assist and played very well in the night too. Something interesting that the commentators mentioned during the game that I found very interesting was from open play, we are the third best defense in MLS, which when I heard that, I was just like, wow, I didn't expect it to be that good. Like, I thought it was an above average defense from open play, but I didn't think it was a top three defense in the league from open play, which just really speaks to, like, whenever we concede goals, it mostly is our fault off either a set piece or a giveaway, just things like that. So it's like, I didn't know we were that solid defensively, but it really has been true. Like, from the run of play, like, this back line has been really solid most of the season. And you saw that with that mention of the third best defense in the league from open play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and that's kind of surprising too, because obviously I was watching the Spanish broadcast, so I didn't really, I'm assuming that was said in the English one, so I didn't really hear that stuff. But that is pretty impressive. That is pretty shocking to say the least. But also in the sense, it's like, well, with the amount of goals that we've conceded off of set pieces, the amount of, I guess,
or penalties,
or penalties, and I guess some giveaways here and there. It's like, yeah, like how many goals have we really, conceded off of open play? Obviously we have, let's not say we haven't, but it's still though, it's like, there's a lot of other different reasons why we've gotten scored on. So to say that we're third is pretty, it's not only just solid, that's pretty good if you think about it, but it's still though, it's just like, yeah, that's pretty, pretty impressive. And I think you saw it in this game. Obviously, like with that one goal, it wasn't necessarily defense's fault, but they still held their own on this one. Obviously, Mikovic was probably, a standout in this game with the amount of saves that he had, some crucial saves that he had in this game. So obviously Mikovic was probably the standout in this one. Obviously you had Yamane giving the assist on that second goal. So he had a good part offensively as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think just the defense just held on their own and they did pretty good in this one. And again, it wasn't really necessarily their fault for the goal, because of the giveaway from Gaston Brugman. But still, though, I think it was a pretty good night, to say the least, for the defense. So I think, that one goal really is not on them. And, you got to give them their flowers for this game, for sure. But anything else you want to say about the defense before we move on into the midfield?
Yeah, I was just very surprised to hear on the broadcast that we were the third best defense in the league from open play. Like, I almost wasn't surprised because I'm like you said earlier, like a lot of our goals have been offset pieces or penalty kicks or just whatever. But like also like some of our goals we conceded were also our own fault, like giveaways and stuff like that. So like mostly from like open play, it's like we really have been pretty solid most of the year to good. You could even say, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, So I think it's I think that's definitely a massive step to what we were dealing with last year. I mean, obviously last year we were talking about defense. We were talking about how bad it was and we couldn't get anything going with the defense.
Not just last year either. Pretty much the last 6 years.
Yeah, you're right. And not even just last year. So it's just like, I mean, obviously that goes to show how much our defense has improved. Definitely, for sure. And hopefully they keep it up, because obviously we need them to be really good, especially going on this, I guess Leagues Cup run and as well as the final stretch of the season. But defense played very good in this game. Midfield, let's talk about midfield, because obviously we had Cerrillo in this one, we had Mark Delgado, and we had Ricky Puig in this game. Midfield, honestly, I'm gonna say it was pretty below average in my opinion. I don't think the midfield played that great in this game. I think Mark Delgado really struggled in this game. I saw it especially in the beginning, but he definitely struggled. Ricky Puig was having some, tough moments, I guess, trying to connect passes. Obviously, he gets that one pass to Yamane in the second goal, but, and then Cerrillo, I guess, Cerrillo was okay, but I don't think he was too bad, but still, though, I think overall, collectively, it was a pretty below average performance for the midfield. But I don't know, how'd you feel about the midfield? Do you agree with me, or do you think, there was something more to it with the midfield?
No, I agree with most of your points, honestly. I would say Cerrillo was actually good. Like, I'd say he was better than okay. I think Cerrillo had a really good performance, and I don't think he should have been subbed off in that point of the game. I did not like that decision at all. We'll talk about it in the subs, but I think Cerrillo played really well. Delgado, I agree, in the first half played really bad, but in the second half picked it up a little bit, but probably not his best night. And yeah, Ricky Puig, like again, kind of in the first half didn't play very well, was struggling to connect some passes. But then the second half made some really good passes, like he played Paintsel in for possibly the second goal. That was a really good pass. Then obviously had that pass to Yamane, which led to the winning goal. So you could say Ricky Puig had some turnovers, and he did, but he also made some really crucial passes for us that could have resulted in goals, and one that did result in a goal. So it kind of went both ways with him. But I would say like Cerrillo was honestly like probably our best midfielder consistently throughout the night.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did better than Mark Delgado, and obviously for Ricky Puig, like I think, yeah, like he had his struggles, but I mean, I guess you could say he did play a little, maybe a little bit better than Ricky Puig in some sense, but even then, Ricky Puig still had some crucial moments in this game, which kind of elevates a little bit of his performance, right? So, but yeah, I mean, but still though, like I think collectively at the whole, at the whole, like I don't think the midfield played that great, and it's not necessarily that they turned over the ball too much in this game. I mean, they did, but like they didn't really turn it over that much. I just think that we weren't really as stable in the midfield, if that makes sense. Like I don't think we just wasn't the knife for the midfield. And it's not to say that San Jose's midfield was, they were controlling the game in the middle of the field. They weren't really, doing much either in the middle of the field. But still, though, it's like it wasn't really much going on in the midfield, if that makes sense. But yeah, though, I mean, obviously, you got some good moments with Ricky Puig, especially with that second goal. But again, though, even with a bad night, we still, with the midfield, we still managed to get a win. So I guess that was that's a good part about it. So, yeah, I guess you could say that at least. But any other things you want to say about the midfield before we go?
I mean, I will say for the midfield to give them the benefit of the doubt, the offense also played really bad and felt kind of stagnant at times, so maybe that affected the midfield and the way they were trying to move the ball around. You could also kind of connect those two things together.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously there was some moments where, which we'll talk about the offense right now in a bit. But yeah, I mean, there was moments where the offense just didn't really play good either. Like they weren't as I guess as threatening at points either in this game. So I guess yes, you could connect both of those as well. So which I guess you could say, like going back to Cerrillo as well. It's like, I mean, defensively we had a good game, and you said that he had a good game, so you could connect those two things right too, right? So defensively, I guess it was better for the midfield, but offensively we didn't really create as much or didn't do as much offensively. But still though, I think the midfield probably wasn't their best night, but still definitely for sure. I guess some of the players did the right things or enough for the game, right? So I guess that's a good thing as well. Yeah. But anyways, let's move on into the offense. Unless you had any other points about the midfield. No. Okay. Let's move on to the offense. So offense, you had Diego Fagundes, you had Gabriel Peck, and you had Joseph Paintstil as your front three. Obviously, before we went on the break, it was pretty effective with Joseph Paintstil looking like he was revived. Gabriel Peck was still doing his things. Diego Fagundes also before the break was also doing some things as well. I believe he got a goal. So, but in this game, obviously wasn't much from the offense, like we've mentioned. I think some of the, Paintstil and Peck didn't really have the best of games. Diego Fagundes, gets a goal in this game, and it was a great goal. Unfortunately, he also gets taken out of the game because, he gets hurt. But still, though, how'd you feel about the midfield? The offense? What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, obviously not a very good night for the offense overall. Not as productive as you would like to see in how the other games have been versus San Jose. Diego Fagundes played really well, honestly. Like, that goal was a great goal to open up the scoring. You could argue even against the run of play a little bit, so that was really good. Really good moment from him, and I feel like he just played very well, very simple all night. So probably our best attacker. Joseph Paintstil, I mean, definitely, a very disappointing game from him for sure. Like early in the second half too, when we were up 1-0, I remember Ricky Puig played Joseph Paintstil in for a pass, and he just hits it straight at the keeper. He tries to chip it over. That didn't work at all. So that was kind of a wasteful chance. And then at 2-1, he had a chance to make it 3-1 and then misses it wide. It's like, as a DB player, I always say, those are what we pay you to put away. Like, you have to put away those chances. Like, I'll give him his credit. Against Portland, he scored that huge goal to put us up 3-1, and that was massive. But he has to do it again, and Gabriel Peck that was the worst he's played in a while, honestly. He didn't look very effective or very good. So just overall, not a very good night for the offense, but I would say I would be most critical of Joseph Pansel because he had some chances and failed to convert on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still look at both Peck and Paint still, right? Because I think, like obviously Paint still, after the performances that he had, you kind of expected him to kind of do that in this game, in which he didn't. Like you mentioned, he had an opportunity to make it a 3-1. He didn't. He, shoots it out wide. But yeah, I mean, obviously it was, I would say both Peck and Paint still were kind of maybe not equally disappointing, but they were just, they were both pretty disappointing. I think Peck, again, in this game, like he just wasn't as effective in this game. There were some moments, like I mentioned before, like there was like moments where he kind of did a step or more or two, which kind of messed him up. There was one point where all he needed to do was just give a simple pass to Ricky. Ricky shoots it, and that's a goal as well. He ends up trying to, dribbling the defender, he slips, and then, the ball goes out of play. Like there was moments like that in that game where Peck could have just done a simple pass and it would have, led to something big. So like I think for both Painstill and Peck, there was just moments where like they could have done better, but yeah, and unfortunately it wasn't their night for either of them. I guess you can kind of give Painstill a little bit more slack because it's just like, well,
he had the chances.
Yeah, he did have the chances, but definitely for sure, it's like I think both of them kind of like had just as disappointing of a game, in my opinion, at least. But still, though, at the end of the day, you got Fagundes making one goal at least, and I guess if you want to count a bit part of the offense, Miguel Berry gets the clutch winner, which again, kind of a sub and offensive piece, but still though, I guess just for the offense, it just wasn't that their night either. But they did get some of those goals in, so I guess it wasn't that bad to say the least. I guess, do you have any other points before we move on into the subs?
I mean, yeah, I'd have one last point. Like, I think we should be more critical of Painstill than Peck. Like, I don't think they had equal performances because Painstill got put in the right opportunities to be able to take a chance. Like, he had a one-on-one when the scoreline was 1-0 that Ricky Pooch played him in for. He tries to chip the keeper and it hits him straight in the body. And then at 2-1, he has a one-on-one to, put the ball anywhere in the net. He puts it wide. So it's like, I mean, he had not one but two massive, massive opportunities. And as a DP player, if you're not putting those away, that's just not you doing your job. And like you could say it's hard criticism saying like, oh, after the way he did against Portland, like, he's due to kind of like mess up or due for one of these, it's fine. But like as a DP player, like we're expecting you to put those away every single time. That's why we paid for him to come in here. That's why he's making the salary that he is. Like if he's in those positions, in those moments, he should be putting the ball in the back of the net. I don't think there's any other way around it, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you could be more critical because of that notion. I just think it's just like the way I see it equally is just because I think like I said, Peck had some moments where he could have done just again the simple things that would have led to big things, and I think there was moments where he just took one or two steps extra, and that kind of messed up his game. But I mean, still though, like I understand what you're saying with Joseph Painstill because those were two good opportunities to really get us goals, and we didn't really get those goals. And I think it just wasn't Painstill because I think there was a lot of players who had good opportunities to score. We just we weren't critical at some points. But I understand the more of the criticism on Joseph Painstill for this game, and especially because he always does good against San Jose, and this was the first game against San Jose where he just wasn't really that effective. So I guess that even made it a little more disappointing that Joseph Painstill didn't really have the game that we were expecting him to have against San Jose.
Also, this game made it clear that we need to play with a number 9. This Galaxy team is obviously way better with a 9 than a false 9, and we saw that with the winning goal and the way Joveljic has played all season when he's been in the lineup.
Yeah, but the only problem is it's like we don't really have a 9. Joveljic is still injured, and even though Miguel Berry had a clutch goal, I don't know if you really think he's the the guy to really have more confidence for him to be the head to take that number 9 role. But I mean, I guess that's what we brought him here for, right? To I guess have those moments, to say the least.
I mean, he'll probably have to step up against Chivas because I don't think Diego Fagundes is going to go on short rest coming off a little ankle injury. I think they'll probably save him for the knockout round, but we'll get to that in the preview. But I have a feeling he's going to have to go again.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if they do. So I guess we're gonna have to go with Barry. But speaking of Barry, obviously let's talk about the subs in this game because obviously he gets a goal in this one, a clutch goal. And I think I told you this when we were texting after the game. I was like, Miguel Barry hasn't scored a lot of goals. but he's definitely had some pretty clutch goals. Like the few goals that he's had, they were pretty clutch. Obviously, you look at the RSL goal. The other goal I think he had in a what
Kansas
was it?
City 4-2.
Kansas City, right? I think it was 3-2. He made it the 4-2, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then obviously this one with the San Jose game. So he hasn't scored many goals, but he's definitely been clutch. But yeah, obviously Miguel Berry was one of the highlight subs, I guess, for this one. But how'd you feel about the subs and I guess just the management in general for this game?
I mean, you could say they're clutch goals, but let's be honest. Are those goals you and I couldn't score in those positions?
I mean, you could say that. I mean, yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. The first goal was actually kind of like him putting in the effort. Like, I don't think anybody expected the first goal that he made. Second goal, I'll give you that one. And then I guess, the one that we against San Jose, I mean, yeah, it was a simple tap in. But still, though, like, I mean, even if they're simple tap ins, they're still pretty clutch. So, I mean, you got to give him that. You got to give him that
Yeah,
for that aspect.
right place, right time for sure. You can always give a striker credit for that.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But yeah, I mean, how'd you feel about the management though? Like, how'd you feel about the subs that were made in this game? We also did get to see Gaston Brugman get some minutes in this game, which unfortunately he gave the bad pass to turn over the ball and give San Jose the first goal. But how'd you feel about the subs and I guess the management of the game?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I was not happy with the way Surreal got subbed out. I don't understand that at all, and I still don't understand it right now. Like, it was so weird because Surreal was playing really well, in my opinion, and it was a 1-0 game, so we were probably going to go more defensive pretty soon. And obviously, Surreal is more of a defensive-minded midfielder than Bergman is, who Bergman always wants to get on the ball and break lines. So I just don't understand why you would make that change at 1-0. It made no sense. Then obviously, like, it looked even worse on Greg Vanny when Brugman just did that pass. I mean, what the actual fuck was that? Like, he tried like some sort of flick, no look flick, and to do that at 1-0, like in an elimination, not an elimination game, but a group stage game is like, why would you do that? Bergman's a veteran player doing that. Like, I don't understand why he would try that pass. And obviously, at that point, when you give the ball away right there, it's a very easy pass for San Jose to make into a Bobasi, and then it's a one-on-one. You can't do much there. That goal is pretty much 100% Brugman's fault. I don't know why he would make that pass. I think it was a bad sub too. But luckily, we got the second goal, so that didn't really come back to bite us, even though it very well could have. But yeah, something on Miguel Berry, I think it was good to get a natural striker on the field because we had Joseph Pencil at the false nine, and he was drifting out of position a lot. He wasn't exactly like staying in his spot, which is something I didn't really like a lot. So to get a natural nine up top, I think is a lot better for this team. And yeah, obviously it worked really well. Like, we find the final pass. Ricky Pooch plays an amazing pass to Yamane. Yamane has a clean connection and Barry's in the right place. Like, if Joseph Pencil was in that striker spot, who's to say he wouldn't be like out wide at left wing and then nobody's there instead of Miguel Berry? Like, if he was in the striker spot. So like, it was good to sub on a striker. I'll give Vanny that, but the Brugman sub didn't make any sense to me, and it still doesn't right now.
I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it also kind of makes sense because the fact is we need Brugman to come back at some point. I know that wasn't a good play by Brugman, and obviously it's a mistake that could have bited us, back in the game. But still, though, like I mean, it was good to see Brugman get some minutes because obviously we have been saying like, well, we do need Brugman back at some point. Like obviously he's still a player that's gonna help us. So I think him getting minutes was good. But I will say I don't agree with I will say that. I agree with you with the fact that maybe it shouldn't have been right to put him during a 0-0 where the game was still very close, where San Jose was still trying to, fight to get that goal. Or, I mean, 1-0, sorry, excuse me, where San Jose was still trying to get, to tie the game up. So I think that I agree with you. The timing of the sub wasn't necessarily the best for Brugman, but still, though, I will say it's still nice to see that he got some minutes in this game. And hopefully he gets some, builds up some more minutes within this tournament, and then we can get him on the stretch. But still, though, that pass to ultimately just turn into the San Jose goal was not good by Brugman, and honestly wasn't that, again, it's a mistake that he shouldn't have made, but, it is what it is, and, luckily we got that second goal with Miguel Berry. I'm trying to remember if there was any other subs that came on. Oh, I know Cuevas came on at one point. I mean, he did okay, I guess, when he came on, but still, though, I mean, I guess managing the game, I don't think it was too bad. I think the Brugman sub was probably the questionable one in the timing of it for sure.
I mean, that kind of sums up our goals we give up this year, right? Like from our defense, it's very solid, but like we give up goals like that, it's like, what are you gonna do about that? And that's kind of how a lot of our goals have been against this year. Either a corner kick, someone doesn't track their man, a penalty kick. Sometimes it was a penalty, sometimes it wasn't, or goals like that where we just give the ball away so cheaply from our midfield. Like that really is like how we concede goals, which you could say it's a great sign. Our defense, is really solid and for the most part holds it down. Like we saw from open play, like top three defense in the league statistically, which is really good. But also, if you give up goals like that, it's like, well, that's not very good at all. So Brugman definitely has to do better in that spot.
Yeah, definitely. He does need to be better in that spot. But again, also Rust, I guess you can kind of put into a play
Well,
in
don't
a
put him
sense.
in then.
Well, still though. Well, I mean, you can't shake off the rest if you don't play. But still though, I mean, obviously, it's like you're gonna have to give him minutes at some point. So it's just like again, I agree with the fact of the timing aspect of Brugman. If we were up 2-0, maybe I would have been okay with putting in Brugman in. But the fact that it was still a 1-0 is still very close within the game and very much reachable for San Jose to come back, which they at one point they did. Obviously, I don't think that was good on Greg Vanney in a sense, but I think overall, I think the management was, it was okay for Greg Vanney, and at the end of the day, we still got the win. So none of the management was really affected. I guess the result of the game, if that makes sense. Yeah. But anyways, anything else you want to say about the subs, the players in general before we move on?
No, just in general, I'm very happy we won the game. I'm happy we don't have to go into the Chivas game worrying if we have to go through or not having to win the game. So it's good we're already through. Got some good individual plays. Diego Fagundes scored that individual goal. It was a great strike. Ricky Puig made that incredible pass to Yamane. He has a great connection. So we had some moments of brilliance within this team. We could definitely play better for sure, but like you could also say, since we haven't played in 10 days, maybe we're a little bit rusty. Obviously, San Jose got that big win over Chivas in penalties, so they had a bit of momentum. So it's good we went in there. We got the sweep. We got to go through. So ultimately, we did our job, and yeah, that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Still though, I guess collectively we could have done better, but at the end of the day, we still got the result that we wanted, and I guess you can, again, we're not too mad about that. Still get the 4 out of 4 against San Jose, so obviously we're really happy about that. So, but still though, yeah, I mean, overall, glad that we got the win, glad that we're able to move on, and and the fact that we don't have to make it a do or die situation against Chivas, so that'll be. We'll see how that goes for sure. But anyways, before we move on into our previews against Chivas, we do have a little bit of Galaxy news. Obviously, we did get some player movement, earlier this week, which was Johnny Perez is getting loaned out to Nashville for the rest of the season, including I think next season as well. So he'll be loaned out to Nashville. Obviously, Nashville right now did get some injuries, including former Galaxy player Tyler Boyd being out for the rest of the season. So they do need some wingers. And obviously it's a good move, I think, for the Galaxy, and for mainly for Johnny Perez. Obviously he's going to get some playing time. He's going to get more developed, even if it's not with the Galaxy. And, depending how he does with Nashville, obviously he could, help us in the long run, right? So, but obviously, how do you feel about this move? How do you feel about the loan? What were your thoughts about Johnny Perez going to Nashville?
Yeah, not really too many thoughts. Just more of like, yeah, it's really good for the player. He's gonna get an opportunity, so that's really good. And yeah, obviously it makes space for the Galaxy to sign Marco Royce. That's apparently why we moved him. So I think it makes sense for everybody involved. And if Royce does come in, that would limit Jonathan's playing time even more. So like, I think it just made sense for everybody, and I think it was a good move all around.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a good move because for Johnny, like I know a lot of people were kind of a little bit upset with the fact that it's like, hey, why are we moving this guy? He's a young player. He's he's shown some flashes. He has the his ceiling is high, and obviously we all see that, right? We all see that Johnny Perez could be a very good player at some point if developed right. But the matter of fact is that he's not getting minutes here. And it's unfortunate. It's not really necessarily his fault either. Obviously, when you look at our players that we have now, we have Gabriel Peck, we have Joseph Paints, though Diego Fagundes is playing on the wings, and whether starts or comes off the bench, that's another option. And yeah, adding Marco Royce, is also going to affect his playing time as well. So obviously, we're not going to be able to develop Johnny well if he's just on the bench. I know people say, well, just send him to Ventura County, but at this point, Johnny Perez, has done all he could and with Ventura County and or in the second team, right? It's the matter of now getting him that experience within MLS, within just having the MLS experience rather than an MLS Next Pro experience, because that's totally different vibes, totally different style, I guess. But for Johnny, it's not going to happen here. Nashville could use him. Nashville's, obviously somewhat, not, I wouldn't say rebuilding, but obviously they had some changes throughout the year. They got a new coach, and, just things like that could possibly help Johnny Perez and, develop as a player. And again, when that loan is up, he can come back and play for the Galaxy, or maybe even, another team is interested and wants to buy him, and we get money out of it. So at the same time, I think it's just a win-win scenario for everybody. Regardless, I know a lot of people had some it's a fan favorite for people, but at the end of the day, it is, I guess, business, you can say. And at the end of the day, for Johnny, he needs to go play and get some minutes, and I think this is a good opportunity to get those minutes for his development. But obviously that Johnny Perez move, like you mentioned, it does free up some cap space for Marco Reus, which at this point we are just officially waiting for them to announce it. I mean, we've been waiting for it for a while now. I know, we were talking about it, like everybody's saying like, oh, it's like it's official, Marco Reus is coming. Like after every little new detail that's coming, it's like, all right, at this point we just gotta wait till it happens. This move obviously, gives you a hint that it'll happen. It's just a matter of when that'll be announced. So I mean, obviously for Johnny Perez, again, hope for the best for Johnny Perez, obviously for his time in Nashville, and hope everything goes well. But yeah, that was a little bit of Galaxy news. Nothing else really much after that. Ventura County update. Anything that happened with Ventura County in their last game?
Well, there's bad news and there's good news with them. Which one do you want first?
Well, give me the good news. Yeah, let's go with the good news.
The good news is their striker, Ruben Ramos Jr., a player that I really like, 17 years old, scored the game-winning goal for the U.S. Youth National Team in the Olympics, so that was really cool and sent them on to the next round, and they're pretty close to qualifying for the U20 World Cup, so that was a huge deal. So that was the good news.
All right, then that's the good news. Which, by the way, I forgot Ruben Ramos is with the Olympic team, so obviously good for him, good for Ruben Ramos, and for the U.S. national team. Obviously, they're repping for the Olympics. But anyways, what is the bad news for Ventura County?
Well, they lost 4-0. That was the bad news. At home, too.
Well, unfortunate for Ventura County, obviously. But who did they play against? Who did they play against?
I think it was the Town FC, San Jose's affiliate.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we had a Cali Classico within the MLS Next Pro, I guess, but obviously,
sort of.
Yeah, I guess sort of, but obviously wasn't the result that I guess that what the senior team got. So, 4-0. I guess that is very unfortunate for Ventura County, but hopefully they bounce back. I know the boys will bounce back. Obviously they've gone through a lot of resilience this season as well. So hopefully they bounce back after this win. Can't let one loss define you. And hopefully that they bounce back in the next one. But anyways, that's a Ventura County update. And I think that's it for the news and the updates. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about the preview actually of Chivas this Sunday at Dignity Health Sports Park. At 7:30. So it's going to be a big game in the sense of, I guess, because, a team like Chivas is coming into town. But like we mentioned, it's really not a game where it really affects us no matter what the result that we get. Obviously, if we get a win, great. If we get the tie, it's still okay. And if we lose, well, okay, it is what it is. But still, though, that is a good thing that we don't have to do a do or die situation against this Chivas team. But still, though, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a big crowd in this game. A lot of people are going to be in this game. But how do you feel about going up against Chivas De Guadalajara? What are your thoughts about this one? And what do you think about it?
I mean, this could be your preview, man. You're the one that watches them all the time, so you probably have more to say than I do. Yeah. The only time I ever watched any Liga MX really is during the Champions League and during the Leagues Cup, and sometimes I'll watch an occasional big game in Liga MX, like I'll watch the Super Clasico where America has destroyed Chivas basically every time I've watched, and I'll watch Monterrey versus Tigres. Sometimes that's a very fun game, but obviously I couldn't really give too much about Chivas. I know they're kind of on the down right now. A lot of people aren't happy with the direction they're going in. They lost to San Jose in penalties. They should have lost in regulation, so I guess they didn't put in a good performance there. it would still be good to top the group. Like, yes, we're through, but you still want to top the group because then if we top the group, we can maybe play a lower seed, like the second place team from a different group. So, you want to do that too. It's a good thing to top the group too, and for bragging rights too against Chivas and San Jose, a continental big club like Chivas and our rivals to top that group. It gives a little bit of bragging rights for sure. So definitely want to go in there, try to top it, but also play smart. Maybe, a guy like Diego Fagundes shouldn't feature in this game. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of fans at the game for sure. Like, the tickets are pretty expensive right now. I think there'll be a lot of Chivas fans, people wanting to see them. But the good part for the Galaxy is their supporters section is back. All the groups got their drums back and whatever, so that should be pretty full. It's expected to be full, so that's good. But yeah, it should be an interesting game for sure. I definitely want to top the group, and we'll see what happens. You can give me more about Chivas since you watch them a lot.
Yeah, obviously, like I mentioned before, I am a Chivas fan as well. I do watch them frequently. It is the family team that we go for. Obviously, my dad's been a Chivas fan for how long is he? Well, basically since he's been alive. My grandfather is from Guadalajara, so he's been, I guess, the guy that started all. So, but yeah, obviously I have a really deep connection with Chivas, and I do watch them frequently when I can. But yeah, obviously Chivas right now. Talking from a Chivas fan perspective, the last game was pretty disappointing considering the fact that we did, lose to San Jose in PKs, which again, it's pretty disappointing, to say the least. I mean, I get it that Liga MX teams right now are, they only played like 4 games within their season, going up against teams that are past the midseason. But still though, against the San Jose Earthquakes, I mean, come on, man. But still though, obviously Chivas right now in a very weird position. They just let go of, their sporting director, who was seemingly looking like putting Chivas in the right direction, with the youth, with the academies and everything like that. They had Paunovic as their coach not too long ago, which, brought us to a final and which we ultimately lost. But still though, at least it was, two Tigres, unfortunately. But still though, I know that's not your team, but still though,
well, they actually are, technically. They would be my Liga MX team if I had to choose one, but I don't really support any team besides Galaxy and Napoli. But I would choose Tigres as my Liga MX team if somebody asked me which one do I like.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess, yeah, your team did beat me in the final not too long ago. But still, though, like, Chivas looked like they were going in the right direction. Obviously, that's kind of stalled because Paunovic is no longer with Chivas. He's now actually with Tigres, ironically. And then you also had our sporting director leaving to Saudi Arabia. So it's like right now Chivas is in a weird position. I think the players on the field, they still have I think they still have a good squad. Obviously offense is still a pretty big, question mark because Chicharito's injured and hasn't been necessarily the best player on the field. They still got Kate Cowell who's getting his, his ways in Liga MX now. He's also had a good start into the season. They have some good young players. So I think Chivas will be a competitive team to play against for sure. But now going to the Galaxy fan perspective, do I think they can beat this Chivas team? I think they can. Like, I don't think Chivas right now necessarily have the capability of trying to necessarily compete with players like Gabriel Peck or Ricky Puig or Joseph Painstill if he gets it back going again. It's like, I don't know if necessarily that will be a good matchup against Chivas. Like, I think defensively they can still be pretty good. I think that, last year Chivas still had one of the top defenses, even though there were some games where they got blown out and, unfortunately to America. But still though, there was some, they still had some good moments defensively. They were still a good defensive team. Alan Mosso was an all-star for Liga MX. It's just like, they still had some good plays they still had some, they were still good defensively, but I don't know how they match up against, players like Gabriel Peck or Ricky Puig or Joseph Painstill. Miguel Berry, who knows? But still though, I think there's some good things about Chivas. I think they still have some good pieces, but I think there's still some question marks to be asked, I guess, for Chivas. But I think this is a team this is a game where I think the Galaxy are still favored, going into for sure.
Also, not to mention, this is a revenge game for Greg Vanny and Mark Delgado for the 2018 CCL final. Don't forget that.
Oh, you're right. You're right there. Obviously, Chivas
could knock him out.
Yeah, they could knock him out, for sure. And also, let's not forget, last time we played Chivas, we did beat them 2-0, with a, Johnny Perez goal and a Jovic goal in SoFi, actually, which was, that was already 2 years ago, which is pretty, I guess it doesn't seem like it feels like it was forever ago, but it really hasn't been. But still though, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things on the line. I think this is again, but this is more of a game for Chivas. They want to go into the next round, and I think they just really need to win in PKs to go through, right? So obviously they need to do that in order to go through, but. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, what do the Galaxy go into this game? Do they want to top the group, or do they just want to, just say like, hey, let's just go out there. If we get the win, we get the win. If we just, whatever result we get, it's okay. We move on. Because obviously, Greg Vanny has stated his, I guess his approach to Leagues Cup. Like obviously, and it's kind of like what we said last week. It's like if they have the position to go out and win Leagues Cup, then they'll go do it. That's kind of how like Greg Vanny kind of said his approach was too. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how I guess the Galaxy approach this Chivas team. So I guess that'll be something to look out for and who we send out against that team.
Honestly, though, are you going to root for Chivas to beat us? Because you kind of want them to go through and not let San Jose go through, and so it doesn't really matter for us anyway. So, like, if I was in your position, I'd honestly be rooting for Chivas this game, even though you're a Galaxy fan as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty split down the middle though. Like even regardless, it's just like for when it comes to both teams. I mean,
Maybe
obviously,
draw Chivas win in pens maybe is good for you.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I think that's the best case scenario for both sides, right? It's just like okay, if they tie and if Chivas wins in pens, it's like all right, then the Galaxy, I believe, still top the group, but Chivas also goes through. So it's just like yeah. I mean, obviously, when it comes to both teams, it's like it's very very difficult to go root for one or the other. I know last time for the Leagues Cup game, I guess I was, I went in Galaxy gear just to support, I guess, the local team, right? So it's like, but still, though, I was pretty split down the middle in that game. So it's very difficult for me to choose a side for sure. And I'm pretty sure, obviously, like, I know we've talked about this before, but let's face it, like, Galaxy and Napoli aren't going to face each other, like, at all. It's, anytime soon. Yeah, I don't think anytime soon. So it's like, but if you were in that situation, I'm pretty sure you would have been kind of split down the middle in a sense. But for me, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty split down the middle, for sure for this game. So, I mean, whatever happens is whatever happens. I'll leave it at that.
Galaxy Napoli in the Club World Cup. I need that so bad, dude.
I know. Let that manifest.
It needs to be a thing.
Yeah, it needs to be a thing. So hopefully that happens. So you know how I feel when it goes down to this type of situation. But yeah, I mean, obviously though, I think Galaxy still have some advantages going into this game. Obviously, they're still undefeated at home. I still think that offensively they still have a good squad, and even defensively, like we've mentioned, they're still pretty. Defensively, they've still been pretty good on the run of play, and I don't think Chivas really has much weapons other than like Kate Cowell. Obviously, they have Hormiguita Gonzalez, who's also been pretty good, a youngster. But still, though, like I don't think that really Chivas has that many offensive weapons, to say the least. I don't think Ricardo Marin is going to really threaten that defense, and which, by the way, that's like the Miguel Berry of Chivas, if you wanna, if you want to know who that is. But still, though, I think the Galaxy still have some advantages going into this game, so I think they could possibly beat this Chivas team on Sunday.
I am actually curious though, like how Delgado and Vanny would feel about going into this game because Chivas were the team that beat them in a CCL final in 2018. And I was just laughing on the side because I remember watching that game, and after the penalty shootout when Chivas won, this one lady was like showing her tits to the camera, and it was like she was swinging them around, and it was really funny. I remember that. Like I was just thinking, like imagine that lady was like in the stands, like behind Greg Vanny again. That'd be so funny, dude. You remember that lady? That was funny.
I do remember that lady. Like man, Mexico lindo.
Dude, she was swinging them.
Yeah, but I don't know. That is interesting though, because obviously that is something that I guess is motivation for Greg Vanny and for Mark Delgado, right? Because they were on that Toronto team that lost against Chivas in the CCL final. So I don't know. Maybe there's some grudge in there. Maybe there's some
Motivation.
Motivation going into that game. Another thing, obviously, like we mentioned before, two ex Galaxy players are now with Chivas. Chicharito, who is most likely doubtful going into Sunday, and also Daniel Aguirre, who hasn't really seen any minutes with Chivas either. So, I mean, there's other storylines, I guess, there too, that we get to see some, I guess, a couple ex-Galaxy players in the building again. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, yeah, not really, because I don't think Chicharito's going to play, and I don't know if Daniel Aguirre will go on either. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to say the least for sure. But But yeah, I mean, still though, it's going to be a good game. Obviously, I plan on watching that game and cheering on, I guess, both sides in a sense. But yeah, it's gonna be a good game to say the least for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully we can top the group.
yeah. Hopefully we can. So hopefully we can top that group. But yeah. Anything else you want to say about the Chivas game or anything like that?
I would like to see a guy like Garces get a start. Maybe like I think that would be really cool for him. I think it's a good opportunity for him to get a start. I'd like to see him maybe get in there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there could be some movement in this lineup going into Chivas, like you mentioned. Like I think Garces could get an opportunity. I don't really think anybody in the midfield could get an opportunity. Obviously, like we mentioned, Diego Fagundes might not be able to play this game, or at least we might not put him in there. So you're gonna have Miguel Berry on the start,
I wouldn't honestly.
or I mean, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't start Fagundes in this one because it wouldn't be, obviously we don't know how his injury is either. So like, obviously, hopefully everything's okay, but but still though, like I think we're gonna have some changes in there. Maybe Miguel Berry starts, this game. So there's gonna be some changes. It's gonna be interesting to see what those changes are going into that game because I don't know, like. Because I don't know. Do you think there, like, obviously you just mentioned Gotch is getting a shot, but do you think there's any other positions that we can see some Galaxy players get some time in?
I mean, like, where else would you really do? Like, on the wings, you don't really have any wingers unless you want to bench Paintsler or Peck and start Cuevas on the wing. It's like, you could do that, I guess. Maybe, you'll probably start Barry at the number 9 position because you don't have Fagundes probably because of injury, which sounds like it's not that serious, so it should be good once the knockout rounds come, but I wouldn't play him this game. You don't really have to. And then for the midfield, like, what would you really change? Like, would you give Bergman a start? Like, I don't know. Maybe, but... Yeah, I just think mostly Garces is the position you could look at and say, like, yeah, that could possibly be changed. Maybe, put Cuevas in for Yamane, too. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Give Mikovic another start, too. He played pretty well. So, not too much, but I like to see some of the young guys maybe get an opportunity in the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be something that we can see, and especially because the fact that we don't really, I guess, no matter what the result is, we're through regardless. So maybe Greg Vanny does kind of go, does have a few subs up his sleeve or a few changes up his sleeve for going into that game. So I don't know. Again, the approach for it is very weird because I don't think Greg Vanny's really. Again, I kind of what I understood from him, it was kind of what we said was just like, oh, like if we're in the position to go win it, then we're gonna go win it. So it's just like, so I think Greg Vanny's just kind of taking it one game at a time. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what his approach going into this game is, but it could lead to some changes. So I guess it's just a matter of fact of what are those changes are. But I would like to see Gotch to start. I think it's time for him to get some minutes. I mean, we've kind of been asking for him to get some minutes for a while now. So maybe this is a game where he does and he thrives in those minutes. Yeah. But anyways, any other things you want to say about this game before we move on?
I expect Chivas to go full strength for sure. Like, obviously, they have to win the game to continue on in the tournament, whether that's in regulation or in penalties. So Chivas is probably going to give us our best shot. We'll see how we go into the game, how we approach it, but it should be interesting. The atmosphere should be interesting for sure. And yeah, hopefully we're able to top the group.
Yeah, hopefully, and I wonder what full strength for Chivas is going to be either, because I know they didn't have Piojo Alvarado start last game against San Jose, so did they start him there? So that also is another good player that Chivas has that'll go for them. But still, though, I mean, I don't know. It's like for Chivas, it's also going to be pretty interesting how they go into this game, and how they play. Obviously, like we mentioned before, Kate Cowell, from San Jose or played with San Jose, so he has some MLS experience. He knows how he's played against the Galaxy before. So how does that affect, I guess the Galaxy? How do they keep an eye out on him? So obviously it's going to be interesting for both sides on how they approach this game. But for sure, Chivas has to go in there with full strength and try to go, at least win in PKs. But they got to go in there and win it. So for them, it's more of a do or die situation than it is for us. So, it's going to be interesting how both teams approach it for sure. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for the episode. Can't thank you all enough for watching and listening. If you all want to follow the podcast or follow us on social media, follow me at Insider Galaxy on Instagram, on X. Go follow LA Galaxy Central on Instagram. And anything you want to say to the listeners before we go?
Hopefully we're able to top the group.
Yeah, hopefully we are able to top the group, because I think that's still a pretty big plus. And like you mentioned, if we go for someone who's maybe a little not lower level, but a more manageable team going into the knockout stages, that would be pretty good as well. So obviously it would be good to see what we do there. But yeah, hopefully we top the group. Hopefully everything goes well with Chivas, and I hope it's just a good game in general. At least for me, it's a neutral perspective going into that game. So hopefully it's a good game. But yeah, be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast, whenever you're listening to this podcast. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, rest of your night. And, for those who are going to the game, obviously go out there, be loud, be safe as well. So, and also be responsible. So, but anyways, hopefully everybody does well. And, thank you guys. Cheers up.
7 words